What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again. And yeah, we're going to get into week 4. We're going to start previewing these games. But before I do, I have to give a shout out and I have to give credit where credit is due. And Brown Tiger, I have to give you credit. You gave me the Ric Flair quote. And yeah, it was kind of fun. I used it. It was fun to do kind of the wrestling thing. I thought it fit well. And I apologize for not shouting you out sooner. So brother, here you go. Here's your shout out. And thank you again for that. Now, before we get into the games, I do kind of want to mention a couple things because there are a couple of big things that have happened here of recently. So let's start with the bad news, then we'll go to the good news, okay? I like that. I'm a positive guy, a glass half full kind of a guy. So Dwayne Taylor, he has been relieved of his duties as the offensive coordinator for the Vipers. So we wish him the best of luck and wherever he goes from here. And the reality of it is this is probably just a mutual thing. And sometimes guys just don't fit, especially in these type of scenarios where you're bringing a whole bunch of new people together in new positions, in responsibilities they've never had before. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And it looks like that's the case here. So happy trails to you, and hopefully you land on your feet and find yourself in a nice position and maybe a place where you fit a little better. I didn't think that his scheme was necessarily a terrible one. I just, I could see where there were some issues and, maybe they just didn't see eye to eye on it. But, like I said, hopefully, hopefully you land well, you do well, and, we'll look forward to seeing you in other places. Now, on to the good news is that we could legitimately have upwards of 40,000 people at this Battlehawks game on Sunday, which is just crazy. They just opened up the 400 seats there. They are packing this place. St. Louis is wanting football, and listen, they've got a fun team to rally around with a fun coach there. So I'm excited to see exactly what that number is going to be. Let me know down in the comment section too what you think that number is going to be. Because I think that might shock us all once we get the final numbers for Sunday's game. Now, to move on to our Saturday night games, let's go ahead and start breaking those bad boys down. And this one for me, man, it is going to be a late night. We're going to be having a 7 o'clock game and a 10 o'clock game, and it's going to be tough to get those games out and to look at them and try to get videos afterwards. But listen, I love you guys, and I'm going to try to do my best and try to get that reaction video out for you. Well, without further ado, let's break these things down. Our 7 o'clock game is going to be on FX. And really both games on Saturday are going to be on FX. We're going to be at Camping World Stadium there in Orlando. We've got the Houston Roughnecks coming to town to face the Orlando Guardians. And yes, this is our first rematch of the season. And it's going to be the first of 2 rematches for this week. Now, we've got the Roughnecks coming in, and they are giving up 9 points to the home underdogs. This is going to be an over-under of 37.5 points in this game. As I'm looking at this game, keys to the game for the Roughnecks is if it ain't broken, don't fix it. That's just the reality of it here. This Roughnecks team, they need to play fast, they need to attack with the defense, and they need to protect the ball. When they have issues, it's when they get sloppy with their play and when they turn over the ball. Turnovers has been really the only areas where they've really struggled. And that's really been about it. This D is tenacious. They come at you. They've got guys who are crazy and the back end, the DBs. You've got Harris and others. And oh, good night. That defense, that 3-4 defense, those guys are coming at you left and right. Need I say any more? 12 sacks on the season. It is going to be fun to watch this defense get after the quarterback again. I don't really know what else to say with this team. They've been playing really, really well. I think another thing is for some reason Brandon Silvers is like DiNucci. He just, for whatever reason, for funsies, has one or two flub-ubs a game, if he can get rid of those turnovers, I don't see them losing really any time soon. I will say this is their first test away from home. They played 3 home games, and this is their first test away from home. I don't think it's going to be a crazy, road game scenario, but they are leaving, and playing somewhere different. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond there. And the fans there in Orlando, did respond well to the Guardians team, especially with them not playing well, for the fans. So hopefully the fans, come out for them and give them a good showing here. Now, turning to the Guardians team, they need to protect the quarterback. Last week they had 4 sacks again on the quarterback last week, but they were starting to turn things around. And this is a team that I think that's starting to figure it out. Whereas, the other, which is odd because the other 0-3 team is starting to fall apart. I mean, we just talked about the offensive coordinator leaving, whereas this team is kind of doing the opposite. They're making some changes. They made some changes. They brought in Quentin Flowers at the quarterback position. I doubt we will see him play any this week. Next week, we might see him in the game. This is going to be Paxton Lynch throwing the ball around, and it'll be really interesting to see what this team now takes the success they had last week. It was a hard loss for this team. For a team that's 0-3 though, to only lose by 1 point on the road, and really just inches away from having a completion there to convert that 4th and 15 to continue on the drive and possibly win that game for them. But they need to protect the quarterback, and it really all starts there for them. Protect the quarterback. If they can give Lynch time to throw, I think that Lynch can really can do some things on offense. They've shown with their opening drives that they can do well with it, and they need Latimer to play like Latimer has. Now Latimer's kind of been dealing with some injuries. I don't see Latimer not playing. Rambo is another one they need to step up. I think Lenore, you're going to see a lot more of Lenore this week now that he's gotten acclimated into this team. The second thing is that they need to limit the fumbles. One of the things that hurt them last week were the turnovers, and it were Martin's fumbles. I would say to you that you're going to see a lot more of Taylor this game than what you saw of him before, and especially with those issues that Martin had and with him not running the ball very well. I think you're going to see that become Taylor's role. I really like the way that Taylor runs, and I think that if they can kind of design some things for him to get him, some consistency in there, I think that you're going to see him get better and better, especially as the game goes on. And listen, for this team to do well, they need to get stops on defense any way possible. They need to shut down that potent offense. All of those stars on that Roughnecks team, I mean, you've got Borgie, Kirkland. The list goes on, with that. Let's see here. We've got Burnett there too. Bird can beat you. Harris can beat you. I mean, they have just a crazy amount of guys there on the other side of the ball. And so if they can figure out ways to stop them, they're just going to have to, and they're going to have to just, play smart and take it to them. This is going to be a game that is not going to be like the first game at all. This is not going to be a beatdown in over early. It's very, very hard to beat a team not only once but twice in a season, and I think that that's going to be the case here. When I look at this thing, I think that this thing is going to be much more of a game, but I do feel like that the Roughnecks are going to pull away. They're going to pull away late. If I'm going with it, my score is a 27-18 is kind of what I have it. So I guess if right there, I have it right at 9 points. So if you want to take, I don't know. I guess in this instance, If I had to pick it one way or the other, I would probably lean towards the Roughnecks. I'm not fully convinced on the Guardians just yet, but I do like the direction that they're going. I want to see them continue to move in that direction. So I've got a 27-18 is kind of my final score, Roughnecks, and I would definitely take the over. The over is where I feel like the money is at in this game. Now, moving over to our nightcap game. This is a 10 p.m. game. This game is on FX again, or ESPN Plus, if you have that. It's going to be at Lumen Field there in Seattle, and we've got the Brahmas, the San Antonio Brahmas coming to town to face the Seattle Dragons. That's how I call them, and I don't know. I'm not a fan of the Sea Dragons. I just want them to be the Dragons. Our over-under here is 40.5 points, and the Dragons are giving up 4.5 to the Brahmas. Now, looking at this Brahmas team, they need to control the ball in this game. They have the most potent offense on the other side of the ball. So, how do you slow them down? You slow them down by pacing it with your offense. So you control the ball. And I think that they can do that, but what they need to do is figure out something with this running game. They, Balaj and Patrick, they need to find a way to get these guys going. And I think a lot of it has to do with they need to let this offense open up, and they need to let Jack Cohn open up this offense. Now, I know that a lot of their production have been coming from their tight ends and, really they're kind of their bigger wide receivers. They need to figure out a way to, though, be able to get this ball down the field, because we know that Vasher and Tolliver are both, I don't think, playing, or it's probable that they won't be playing at all. At least that's kind of what we're looking at here. So if you take those guys out of that is a lot of their production right there. So it's going to be, held on Mack and Yelder, which is your tight ends who have been the guys who have stepped up. But they're not going to be your guys that are going to push the ball down the field, so to say. Yeah, I mean, they need to be able to figure out how to open up the field so that they can open up this run game. But controlling the ball, getting the run game going, and then on D, they just need to step up. Both Scotts are out, so you've got your better defensive players who are going to be now out of this game, who aren't going to be playing. And so you need somebody to step up on D, especially when you've got the arguably the best offense in the league against you on the other side. You need somebody to step up to figure out how to get those stops so that you can get the ball back and that you can score some points. They're gonna need people to step up on D, and we'll see if they can do that against this Dragons team. Now, looking over at the Dragons, turnovers. Oh my gosh, turnovers. They need to. Danucci is the worst turnover machine in the league right now. Like, I love the guy. He is a gunslinger. He has heart. He has a lot of moxie. He goes, full tilt, but he is a fumble machine. Or a interception machine. He and Silvers, they are like brothers in arms when it comes to finding a way to throw at least one interception in a game. But if this guy can clean that up, I don't see any chance for the Brahmas this week. The other thing is get up quick. They're a fast offense. The Brahmas are not. The Brahmas are they're slow, methodical, and if they can get up, the Brahmas, I don't think have they just don't have the ability to play with them. If this is a back and forth scoring game, if this is a track meet, they're going to lose every time. So they need to make it that, and make it that fast, and they could legitimately have this thing over, before the first half is done. And two, Ellison really came on last week, and now I know Knox was hurt. We'll see if Knox comes back this week, with it. But Ellison did a really good job running the ball, and I think that that's really can really add to that getting up quick and then turning to Ellison takes the ball out of DiNucci's hands, especially in the second half when you're already up, and eat some clock, do some things like that. So keep feeding him. He had over 100 yards last week. Had a really, really, really good game. So continue that if you ask me. And then the D needs to bend, but just not break. And they can do that with this Brahmas offense. They can keep everything in front of them. They have a fairly decent defense, and keep everything in front of them, come at those running backs, and I think that they could do really well. Listen, this game for me is really all about personnel, the way things are, and the Brahmas have some injuries that I think that are just going to hinder them in this game. It's a home field advantage for Seattle. I think Seattle's going to have fun with this one. If you're looking at it, this one is going to be tough for me. I'm going to go with it's hard, but I'm going to go with the under on this one. I'm going to go with like a 28-10. Go with the under. I definitely would take the Dragons. The Dragons would be my money play. I would give up the points to the Brahmas. I think that the Dragons are going to win by at least 10 points. But those are kind of my thoughts. I'm looking at like a 28-10. Kind of around there. I really don't see the Brahmas scoring really realistically, any more than really twice. So at the most, I'm looking at like 14 points for them. And I look for the Dragons to control the ball a little bit more in the second half. And that's how I see that game. So there you have it, folks. There are my thoughts on the first two games. I'm going to break this thing up. It is hard for me to really get in depth and have such a long video. So I'll put out another video and do the Sunday games. You'll get those from me in that video. As always, I want to know your thoughts down in the comment section. Let me know what you think, what your picks are, where you're going, where you're headed, what your thoughts are. I'd love to continue the conversation on down there with you. All right, listen, guys, I know that you're busy and I know that I'm busy. So let's get on out of here. You have a good night. Bye.